This afternoon, we're very privileged to welcome to the Royal United Services Institute His Excellency Adel al Jubeir, Minister of State for Foreign Affairs of the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. Adel al Jubeir arrives at RUSI at a time of great tension in his region, and of interest to the world, of course, is the struggle between Saudi Arabia and the Islamic Republic of Iran, which has also now begun to be part of a much wider escalation of tensions between the United States and Iran as well. Following the collapse or the withdrawal from the JCPOA of the United States, tensions with Iran have been spiking. We have been seeing tankers being targeted in the Gulf, we have seen drones being shot down, and we have seen Saudi infrastructure targeted by missiles from Houthi militias in Yemen. So at this time, this is really one of the key moments for Gulf security and possibly one of the most insecure times in the last 30 years. On top of that, traditional allies and partners of Saudi Arabia have been extremely concerned about issues that have occurred to do with human rights violations in Yemen, and only today a British High Court has ruled that sales of weapons to Saudi Arabia may well be unlawful. This comes on the back, of course, of a new UN-funded report which has identified that the Saudi state has, of course, been complicit in the murder of Saudi journalist Jamal Khashoggi. On top of all these issues, I will be talking to the Foreign Minister to gauge his views on ways forward in the region and also relationships with Western countries. Minister Adel al Jubeir, welcome to RUSI.
Thank you.
You arrive at the United Kingdom at a time of great tension in your region, in which the Islamic Republic of Iran is accused of escalating tensions in the Gulf. What is your read on the current situation, and do you think the current escalation can be avoided?
We are trying to do everything we can to avoid war, but it is the Iranians who are escalating. You don't de-escalate by attacking tankers and threatening the freedom of navigation in one of the world's most important waterways, threatening the supply of energy, threatening the price of oil. You don't de-escalate by launching ballistic missiles at airports in Saudi Arabia and at desalination plants, or by launching drones at pumping stations for an oil pipeline in Saudi Arabia. We have made it very clear to the Iranians that this behavior must stop. So have our friends, including the United States and the United Kingdom, and we have also made it very clear that we don't want war. We want to avoid it at all costs.
And what is Saudi Arabia's vision for a secure and stable region?
A region in which countries comport themselves according to international law, don't interfere in the affairs of other countries, don't sponsor terrorists, don't provide ballistic missiles to terrorist organizations like the Houthis and Hezbollah, don't seek to acquire nuclear capability, a region in which countries can deal with each other, trade with each other, invest with each other. We are implementing our Vision 2030, which seeks to transform our country and to diversify our economy, empower our youth, empower women, reduce our dependence on oil, and we're trying to do this in an environment that is tense in the region. If the environment were not tense, our ability to execute on this program would benefit substantially.
And I'd be remiss to ask that, of course, tensions between Saudi Arabia and some of its oldest allies in the United Kingdom and the United States are rising. Some in the United States and even here are questioning the value of arms sales to Saudi Arabia. And of course, yesterday a report has emerged from the UN about Saudi Arabia's role in the killing of Jamal Khashoggi. What can Saudi Arabia do to ameliorate some of these problems that have emerged?
I believe we can communicate better. We've always had frank and honest conversations with our allies and partners in the West, in particular with the United Kingdom and the United States. We have taken a reputational hit with regards to the war in Yemen, even though I believe that is not fair. We didn't start the war, the Houthis did. We entered it 9 months after the Houthis staged their coup. We're not using child soldiers, the Houthis are. We're not stealing humanitarian assistance, the Houthis are. We're not laying siege on towns and villages and starving people in the process, the Houthis are. We did not loot the central bank of $3 billion, the Houthis are. We did not lob ballistic missiles at towns and villages, the Houthis do. And yet we get blamed. Every agreement that was made to resolve this conflict we have supported, as has the Yemeni government. The Houthis accept but then don't implement, and yet we get blamed for it. So I think we have to do a better job explaining these facts to public opinion in countries friendly to Saudi Arabia. With regards to the issue of arms sales, I think it got caught into domestic politics in the United States. I think ultimately the supply of defensive equipment to Saudi Arabia will continue because it's in the national interest of the United States and the UK to do so. The US is sending military forces to the Gulf in order to fill a vacuum and to deter Iran. Imagine if Saudi Arabia and the Gulf countries did not have access to defensive equipment. How much more equipment and how many more soldiers would you have to send in order to cover that vacuum? So the logic of providing arms sales to Saudi Arabia and your allies in the Gulf region is very, very compelling.
Minister, thank you very much.
Thank you.